Big news for the Portuguese football universe. One of the best managers in the world is returning home. José Mourinho is now officially the manager of Benfica, and I think that's insane. Not just because of all the mediatism that José Mourinho is bringing, all the attention coming into the Portuguese league, where they have clubs like Alverca that got promoted to the Portuguese league this season, that is co-owned by Vinicius Junior, for an example, to bring some attention to the league. I think also the big three are very strong this season. Porto, Benfica, and Sporting should be giving a lot of shows in the Portuguese league and European competitions as well. But very important for Benfica and for the championship itself to be the tactical knowledge and coaching skills that José Mourinho could bring to the club, because Benfica is a good squad, not the most complete. I think it still needs some improvements in certain areas, but they were lacking some willpower in the most recent games, especially against the draw against Santa Clara, where they were playing against one man down, or in the amazing defeat. I say amazing because even though I like Benfica, I like mostly Portuguese teams, by the way. I was doing a watch along of the game here on the channel, and Karabakh really deserved the win. They were losing 2-0 and came back to winning 3-2. So I think with José Mourinho that will never happen, or if José Mourinho can translate his ideas and his will to win into the players of Benfica, the way they lost to Karabakh will never happen again. So I'm really excited to see this change into the Benfica squad. I don't know how José Mourinho will apply his tactics. Hopefully he doesn't bring a 3-4-3 like he was playing at Fenerbahce. Benfica can't even do that because they only have 3 central backs, and Tomás Araújo is still kind of coming back to form after an injury, and Otamendi and Antonio Silva have been committing some mistakes recently, way more Otamendi. It all started when he saw the red card on Argentina game for the international break. Then he made a mistake that led to an Alverca goal. Then he made a mistake that led to a Santa Clara goal. So kind of struggling over there. And then in the defense, especially in the last goal from Karabakh, the defense of Benfica was too passive. I think José Mourinho will bring some positive change. The players will run a bit more. The players will have some more intensity. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, by the way. Do you enjoy José Mourinho in Benfica? How you think he will change this team of Benfica? And how you think the Portuguese league will benefit from José Mourinho coming in? In the start of the video, I mentioned how José Mourinho can bring a lot of mediatism and attention to the Portuguese league. So that matters a little bit because the Portuguese league is not the most rich league in the world. The top 3 clubs can get a lot of good money, but even the 4th and 5th biggest clubs, they struggle sometimes to even compete in the Europa League and on the Conference League. So there is a plan from the current Portuguese Federation of Football to increase the value of the Portuguese league, and also there was a problem last year, I don't know if it was the same this year, where a lot of countries, a lot of television networks, they didn't want to broadcast the Portuguese league games. And that's a big problem because one of the most profitable and reliable ways to obtain income in the world of football is through TV rights. Premier League makes a bunch of money and then shares it very well with the clubs based on TV revenue. I think the same goes to the Champions League. They are able to provide a lot of income to the clubs, not only because it's a UEFA organization, but also because they have a lot of people watching them and paying to watch the competition. So there is the need and also the clear goal to make the Portuguese league more watchable and with more attention and with more reasons for you to watch. And I think José Mourinho coming into Benfica can do that just because he's José Mourinho. And then I think in the European competitions, if Benfica performs well, because of José Mourinho's new tactics and willpower, then more people will see Benfica, more people will then look at the Portuguese league, and then they can see Sporting play well, Porto playing well, even clubs like Moreirense making their best start of a season ever, also doing pretty well. I've been watching a lot of Portuguese games this season, and I think this is the best season in very long time. The teams are playing open football, and the teams are scoring goals. They are a lot of good players in the league, very creative players, and I think that José Mourinho coming in can bring more attention that the Portuguese league needs, and also I think it kind of deserves. So that's very important in the perspective of bringing attention to the Portuguese league, the fact that José Mourinho is joining Benfica right now. Like I mentioned earlier though, I'm not sure about the tactics that José Mourinho will bring to Benfica, but I'm sure he'll bring more willpower, and the next game will be tomorrow at the time I'm recording this video, so I'll be doing a watch along of the first José Mourinho game back in Portugal, so make sure to watch that live stream. It will be here live on Esosu Football. Now, there is another part of this story that I think it's important for us to focus on, which is the Jose Mourinho story itself, right? Because he's a very accomplished manager. He did amazing jobs in a lot of clubs. Most noticeably for me, it's winning the Champions League with Porto, but then doing it with Chelsea, with Inter, creating his own style of football, and coming back a little bit to the mediatism part. He did so many numbers and tricks around the media in general. I think a lot of people recognize the iconic, if I speak, I'm in big trouble. I don't want to be in big trouble, so I don't speak. Or the fact, a more recent media trick that he did when he was at Fenerbahce and there was a wrong offside against his team, but the refs didn't change the decision, and then he showed with the PC in front of the cameras. Yeah, he placed the laptop in front of the cameras to show the wrong decision from the referees, and then Jose Mourinho helped reveal some corruption scandals that were pretty obvious, but no action could be done legally in Turkey. So there was a lot of moments where Jose Mourinho was iconic, and that's another part of it being very good of Jose Mourinho coming to Benfica, but also a lot of people saying that Jose Mourinho is washed, that is not what he used to be. And if we look at the results in general, you could say, yeah, he's not doing great for a while, but I believe that we need to have a bit more nuance and understand that some projects that Jose Mourinho was recently weren't really good projects, especially the Fenerbahce project and the Roma project. Roma is now doing better, but at the time, it was very complicated situations for Jose Mourinho. So with Fenerbahce, it's very hard because in Turkey, corruption and whatnot. He didn't have a lot of support from the board, or he didn't want the same players that the board wanted, and vice versa. So it's not a good environment for him. And Roma, they were struggling as well, and he did win a Europa League with them, and he did make them go to a final of the Europa League, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they were really struggling in the championship, but they were doing well in European competitions, and they won a trophy in I don't know how many years. So Mourinho still did well at Roma, and then we have to remember the Man United situation, the Manchester United situation, where he was arguably the best manager since Alex Ferguson left the club. He got in second when Manchester City had that crazy season where they were so strong, and not only that, he won the Europa League or went to the Europa League final. I don't remember correctly now, with a team that was not good. I think the teams that United has right now arguably can be better, but he still had some good players. Of course, he was not any poor man with like Leicester type team. Shout out to Leicester back in the day, though they were a great team. But he still had a good team available for his plans, but not as good as Liverpool or City at the time, right? So I still think he's a very good manager, and I think he's the right man for the Benfica job because I think Bruno Lage did a good job. So let's now talk about Bruno Lage. I think he picked up the team in a very difficult situation because Roger Schmidt kind of messed things around. I don't know what really happened with Roger, but I think there was some problems with the administration. I think he understood some realities and some aspects of the structure that he didn't enjoy there, and he felt like stuck in there. So he created his own way out and kind of created some problems to achieve that goal. So then Bruno Lage comes in, he actually makes the team play better. The team was almost winning the championship. It was in the Taça de Portugal final. You know what I'm saying? Was doing very well in the Champions League as well. Everybody remembers that crazy game against Barcelona. So I think he did a good job. I think it was more problematic, and also he did a good Club World Cup, right? But more problematic was the start of this season where he changed the tactical system. He brought new players that he had way more involvement in choosing the players, and the team was playing well. The team was really solid. Before the Alverca game, they hadn't conceded any goal at all in all competitions. But then the team was really creating a lot of goals. And then already against Alverca, then against Santa Clara, then against Karabakh, there was an obvious lack of enthusiasm, lack of energy, lack of focus, and lack of willpower. And I think in a lot of places, and also in Portugal, especially from the big clubs, they love one thing. They love good, creative football, and they love commitment and focus. For example, Porto last year had a horrible season. They still got third, by the way. But Porto fans understood the situation of Porto, and they just wanted one thing. They just wanted the players to leave the sweat on their shirts. They just wanted the players to honor the shirts and give their commitment, which they did. That's why they came third behind a very powerful Sporting and the Benfica coming back, rebirthing themselves. And I think that was lacking to Benfica in these couple last three games. And nobody can explain that because the team started the season really, really well and then it just lacked energy. And I think on another perspective, maybe it's way more lack of energy than lack of willpower because Pavlidis, a great striker from Benfica, right? He's been very, very tired. Like, it's not like he can play, but you can see he's not making the runs he used to do. His mind is not as sharp as he used to be. So I think that comes from being tired. The team basically had no vacations. They went from the Club World Cup, and then in the 30th of June, or 30th of July, very, very early, I think it was 30th of July, they already had the Super Cup versus Sporting, which they won, by the way. That was very incredible, with so much little time to prepare. But then I think Rios and Barranchea have always been the duo in the middle. I think they got tired as well. I think Antonio Silva and Otamendi have been always. Tomás Araújo did play a couple of games, but the team has been playing a lot, under a lot of pressure, Champions League qualification, playing for the championship. And there was another factor, which is that the team is kind of new. There was a lot of players coming out, a lot of players coming in. Actor Coglio went out, Coxo went out, Florentino went out. You know what I'm saying? So the new signings are good. For example, Dedic, Barranchea, Rios, even Ivanovic, they are all good. But the team had no time to rest, the team had no time to prepare, and the team had no time to come together. And then I think Bruno Lage was just not flexible enough to understand the situation. Sometimes he'll do very late subs, so the team got even more tired because of that. And I think he's not the right man in all those circumstances to make the team go through. You know what I'm saying? He did win a championship with Benfica back in the day, but I think the team was in way better situation. I think the team right now is better from Benfica, but the situation was better before. I think José Mourinho is the right man to take a very talented group of players. Benfica still needs a lot of players to come back from injury, like Bruma, Manu Silva, even the Alexander Ba, that I think now loses the place to Dedic, but still Benfica needs some players to come back into form, and I really hope that José Mourinho starts using way more the youngsters from Benfica. We have like João Veloso, for example, which is really good in there. João Morrega as well, really, really good. For example, if somebody in the midfield gets tired, if a winger gets tired, I think we really can use some good youngster players, and I think it will be a great thing for José Mourinho to come into Benfica. He can rebirth a little bit of his career. He can rebirth a little bit the flame of Benfica. And I think it's the perfect environment for José Mourinho to show that he still got it. Benfica has good financial situations. They have good players. I think the board is really supportive of José Mourinho. And accordingly to some information in social media, José Mourinho got his old team back when he was at Porto and he was at Chelsea. So a lot of members of his staff came back to the team. So now he's the most powerful ever since Chelsea, I believe. I don't know when they got separated, but now they are reunited, and I think he has a great chance to prove himself and to make Benfica very, very competitive, because this year Porto and Sporting are very, very strong. Porto is just now beating Real 3-0, last time I checked, and Sporting played very well versus Kairat yesterday for the Champions League. So I wish the best to José Mourinho. I'm super, super excited to see how he changes the team. Hopefully it doesn't take too much time to adapt. And also, to finish the video, a lot of people don't know, but Benfica was the first club that José Mourinho was the main manager. And things didn't start very well. He was able to defeat Sporting 3-0 and then he got sacked, like when he got Tottenham to a final and then got sacked, because there was some problems with the Benfica president at the time, I believe. So it will be even more beautiful for him to restart and refresh and re-elevate his status as a Benfica manager. And I do believe Benfica, he's his club from the heart. He's from Setúbal, a district very close to Lisbon. Bruno is also from Setúbal, by the way, a district in Portugal. And José Mourinho kept praising Benfica and was in Fenerbahçe. And he said, Rui Costa even used a scarf saying that in Portuguese, que é o treinador que diz que não ao Benfica. In English, there is no manager that will say no to Benfica. So I think he really sees Benfica as one of the biggest clubs in the world, and it would be amazing for José Mourinho to do a feat like he did in 2004 with Porto and become Champions League winner with the Portuguese team. Let's pray that all happen. It will be very cool for me, and I think for football in general as well. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment down below. Leave a like and subscribe, and I see you on the next one.